hear the music in everyday sounds? Is there something sonically that links everything together? I'd like to take you on an audio journey and share some of my sonic discoveries, and then show you how everyday sounds can be used to create music. On the hunt for sound, I've cycled over 32,000 miles, listening and recording, on the tops of mountains to deep underground, old places, new places, and even underwater. I'm finding that there are certain sounds and tempos that are common across nature, industry, people, and places. Hi everyone, at the back. I'm Paul Cheese, musician, sound producer, and cycler. I use cycling as inspiration in my songwriting. I love the physical and the mental challenge. Cycling slows everything down, so I can really appreciate sound. Over the years, I've found it fascinating pedaling along, pondering sound, rhythm, and tempo. For instance, have you ever wondered what notes planes make as they fly into clouds? And do builders render walls at different tempos? Which got me thinking, what does the UK sound like? I had the idea to cycle to every single region of the UK and collect as many sounds as possible, and then create a piece of music from those sounds. Over the next 3 months, I cycled over 5,000 miles, collected over 11,000 sounds. I ate about 150 bananas, drunk at least 180 pints of milk, and learnt that 3 out of 4 UK builders render a wall at about 98 beats per minute. Stage 1 complete, collecting the sounds. The next step was to make sense of everything that I had collected. I listened to all of the sounds and put them in folders of nearest note and tempo. For example, if you have a mower or a strimmer, chances are that it will hum the note of F sharp. And there appears to be common tempos. For instance, a motorbike idling, 98 beats per minute. A fireman retracting a ladder, 98 beats per minute. A section of a blackbird call, 98 beats per minute. 3 months later of cataloguing and listening, stage 2 complete. Stage 3, create a piece of music using only the sounds that I collected. Here's a little story about a beat. Sometimes I would be on the road, cycling and recording for about 16 hours a day. I love it, but this meant that some days I would arrive very late. It'd been a long, hilly day, and I'd eaten all of my supplies. But I was quite lucky because tonight I was going to be staying above a pub. When I arrived, everywhere was closed, and the bar didn't even have any peanuts. Got chatting with some of the locals, and one of them said to me, "Look, you've been cycling all day, we can't have you going without food." So one guy went home and got me some bread and butter. Another lady went and got me some eggs. And then another lady said, "I've got some par-cooked vegetables, you can have them too." I felt like I was in a film. And throughout the whole of this journey, I was overwhelmed by the kindness of people. And to top it all, when I left the pub in the morning, the front door made a fantastic sound. Cycling along, intensely listening, I collected thousands of sounds. Every sound has a story, but let's just say, if you take the sound of a pub front door, the bounce of a basketball in Huddersfield, kicking the bar in Aberystwyth, the sound of a nail gun near Wormit in Dundee. If you combine all of these sounds, cherry-picking their sonic qualities, you get a fantastic bass drum. Now, on a bike, there's a lot of time to think, and there's a lot of time to overthink. So when I saw this, I thought, I know, that pattern of seagulls looks like a fantastic rhythm. Listen to this. Every good drum kit needs hi-hat cymbals. Cycling along through many fields, you can't beat the rhythm of a good crop sprinkler from Suffolk. And a good crop sprinkler from Shropshire. If I put Suffolk on the left and Shropshire on the right, you get a lovely bouncing rhythm. I know what you're thinking. What's the snare drum going to sound like? Well, it was after about 6 weeks of cycling that I became a finely tuned listening machine. I was cycling through this very quiet village, and I could hear this distant snipping sound. So I went to investigate. I found Melvin pruning brambles. It turns out that he'd taken it upon himself to cut back the brambles from the path because he didn't want people walking in the road. Behind all the sounds, I found some lovely stories. Back to that snare sound. Melvin's clippers.
Oh, perfect. Look at that.
He loved it. The thwack of a cricket ball near Nottingham. The hammer clank of hot metal at a blacksmith's in Devon. And the slam of a red postbox door in a town square on my way to Abingdon. Now, combine all of these sounds, you get a lovely snare sound. Here's the sound of a boat being deflated on Loch Ness. I think it sounds like a fantastic crash cymbal. It was on Teesside that I found myself up against a metal fence, recording the crunky noises of industry, when behind me, a lorry pulled in and started to unload a massive container. It was like all of my audio Christmases had come at once. I spoke to the driver and said, "Do you mind if I record the sound it makes?" Explained what I was doing, and he was like, "Go for your life, mate." After recording, I was cycling out the car park, and this skip lorry drove in, and the bloke wound down his window and said, "Are you Paul?" He then said, "Roy radioed me and mentioned that you'd really appreciate it if I dropped this skip in the middle of the car park so you could record the sound that it made." I met so many people that once they got their head around what's this bloke on a bike talking to me about sound for, they would get involved and say, "Oh, go down to the park, there's some really noisy swans." Or, "Have you been to the bottle factory yet? There's some interesting clanks and smashes." Here's that skip being dropped. Thanks, Roy. Here's the sound of girders being dropped at a reclamation yard near Truro in Cornwall. I think they sound a bit like kettle drums. Now, if you put all of these sounds together, you get this lovely beat. But what about a bass? Across the country, I found many electric substations. I can tell you're all thinking that is actually the note of G. A passing helicopter in Cheshire. And Neil, a lovely chap I met in Aberdeen. He said he was studying opera, so he sung me a note. Thanks, Neil. And a vibration of the base of a lifeboat on the Scrabster to Orkney ferry. Very close to Neil's note there. Now, the interesting thing about mixing all of these bass sounds together is that some of the notes get pulled out of the mix and others get sucked back in and then form their own kind of bass lines. Listen to this. So we've got a beat and we've got a bass. Where's the melody? When I'm on my bike, I find I tune into my surroundings and everyday sounds become more melodic. Whilst following national cycle routes, I was serenaded by the sound of mowers and strimmers, my strim section or my instruments. While cycling along, I heard machinery. Transporter Bridge in Stockton, and the lovely sound of Kent bees in lavender. On many canal paths, I couldn't miss the sound of a lock gate winding. So, when cycling along through villages, parks, fields and towns, I collected lots of different notes and tones. And then when combining all these different sounds, they made really interesting chords and melodies. This is just one of them. Okay, bringing it all together. I was riding along on the edge of a cloud, and I could see a storm moving up the coast behind me. I was pedalling, all right, mate, pedalling as fast as I could, being pushed by the wind, riding on the front of a storm, when on the horizon I saw an ice cream van. I raced towards it with the storm looming. Now, this is one of those moments that I will never forget. I pulled up with my bike and I got chatting with the ice cream man. And he said, "Hi, I'm Luca Serafici. I'm proud to say that I'm a fourth generation ice cream man, and I've been using the same ice cream van song for the last 5 years. A 99 with a chocolate flake in it should help with your travels." He then went and started the ice cream van song. So I'm standing there with my headphones on, microphone in one hand, ice cream in the other, recording the sound of the ice cream van song whilst that big storm changed direction and went out to sea. I rearranged the notes of the ice cream van drop in the bass and the beat, thicken it with bees and mowers, then add the melody. Sound has taken me to places that I never knew existed. When I'm on a bike or on foot, I believe you can stop and listen. Most people have a song that reminds them of a time or a place. I have these audio photographs. This is more than just a collection of sounds. This is the soundtrack to my adventure. You've been listening to the sound of a 5,000-mile bike ride, the Big Record UK. All around us, there is music hidden in everyday sounds. What is the soundtrack to your day? I've been Paul Cheese. Thanks for listening.